So, today, got a special collab. Got newcomer to the channel, Dak Ake. What's up, Dak?
What's going on, everyone? I'm excited to be here.
Got Sai and Par, as usual.
You know what it is.
Did we come up with a name for this?
Not
Yeah, well, we're the Boys Club.
the Boys Club. The Boys Guild.
The cross-guild pirate group.
Maybe we shouldn't leave the naming up to Sai.
No, Fast Coach Shot fans.
No, why are you bringing that here?
Or now I agree. Yeah, because Par's here. Par low.
What do you...
Oh my god.
But the audio might sound a little weird here, guys, because we're actually in LA right now. I'm with Par in person, and we're like at a cafe, like recording. It's not
like a radio show.
It is. But today we're talking about something very special because it has little bearing to go off of, but it's pretty exciting for the title and thumbnail. And that's what's going on at Egghead, especially with Blackbeard, because, you know, I've already put it out there by now. The title is Blackbeard going to take Saturn's devil fruit? I don't know. I mean, we'll get into that. But the main thing that I just want to talk about is what's going on at Egghead right now, because we haven't, been there in a while since chapter 1079, right? Because the main talking point is basically in chapter 1078, where it says the resolution of this incident the following day would inflict a kind of shock the world never saw coming. And that's wild. That can mean tons of things, especially through the words of Oda. And then in the following chapter, 1079, before we completely depart from Egghead altogether, we see one of the Blackbeard ship headed to Egghead. And it's like, what's going on there? Because we at least know where some of them are, right? At Hachinosu right now, some of them are fighting against Garp, but Blackbeard's not there, right?
No, he is not. You guys missing MIA.
Yeah, there's been a little bit of speculation. Some people are trying to say like Blackbeard's been in all places, like he's separated, multiple personalities, split clones. Like there's been so many different ways to make sense of the timeline outside of the idea that, yeah, Blackbeard's not on Hachinosu at the moment. And if he's going to Egghead, then I'd imagine there's something there that he wants to take. I feel like it'd have to be something that he already knew was there, or somehow he'd have to get notified that like all this stuff is happening there. But like everything at the moment, like the panels that you read, those are all like internal marine communication or like the narrator box to us. So as far as like what Blackbeard's receiving, we're not even sure. So that makes the mystery even more interesting as far as like why Blackbeard would come to Egghead. But I mean, the baseline foundational thing is devil fruits. Blackbeard, devil fruits, Vegapunk, devil fruits. It's like a farm for them. It's like the best place to go.
Yeah.
He's apple picking,
I'm glad you brought this up. And Dax, I want to ask your special opinion after I just get to this point, and it's the whole devil fruits, and I think that's why Blackbeard is going there. So recently, it hasn't been fully confirmed, but in my opinion at least, the Gorosei have devil fruit. I think it's clear that they do, and it's probably some kind of mythical Zhoniin or Zhoniin at the minimum. And now that Saturn is there, it's possible, it's not impossible, that maybe Blackbeard knows that or something to that degree. I mean, why is he going there all of a sudden? So it's possible that he could be going there to get a devil fruit, but then once he gets there, he's like, oh, Saturn's here, I'm Blackbeard, let me do it. Because also, I think it's heavily implied at this point that Blackbeard is going to have 3 devil fruits. He already has Paramecia, he has Logia, so him getting a Zoan, especially on the level of Saturn, would just be fitting, I think, if he doesn't already have. But that brings me back to what I wanted to ask you, Dak. What, just aside from the, the fantastical thought of him taking Saturn's fruit, hypothetically, what is your just opinion on Blackbeard getting another devil fruit? Because I'm sure you have, some really good theory about that, and I would love to hear it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. So I'll say this, the reason that York has all those hostages in an old devil fruit research lab specifically, right? That's where everything's coming to a head right now. All of this trader stuff is in a devil fruit research lab specifically. And then the very last thing we saw, as you mentioned earlier, was Blackbeard pulling up. So I could definitely see a world where those things tie. But as for his fruit, I'm of the mind he actually already has it. Now, it's not 100%, but going back to like Shanks being scarred, he was young, and all these warnings to Whitebeard and stuff, I'm almost wondering if he already had that third fruit and it was revealed to only a couple people, and then we're going to find out. But I will say your idea about Saturn is really intriguing because, like I mentioned, all the stuff's happening in Devil Fruit Research Lab. And Oda has a very consistent process with these kind of silhouette figures where he shows us the silhouette that's like a black silhouette with white eyes, and then he'll like trickle in the reveals of these beings over time, right? Like you look at the numbers, we see all of them at once, we see the same kind of silhouette, and then we get one or two at a time, or maybe three towards the end. Like he just kind of, you know, like slices them in there over time. So it's like a slow reveal. And with Saturn pulling up by himself at Egghead, it would make sense that he's going to reveal that devil fruit or whatever the power is. And that could be the reason, you know, Blackbeard, you know, gets excited about that. Like, oh, well, I came here for this, but maybe I could take that. But with all that being said, though, what I think is most likely is he's coming for the Seraphim, for some way to control them, because he already went to Amazon Lily to go get Boa's fruit, and, you know, for a variety of reasons he couldn't get it, but there's S-Snake over at Egghead, which could mimic those powers. Similarly, he wanted to get Moria, and Moria seems to be, you know, not wanting to join because he had to be locked up and all that kind of stuff. But we know S-Gecko exists now, and he might have the Shadow Fruit. So basically, Blackbeard might be able to maneuver around all of this if he can get control of the Seraphim. But then the question would be, how does he do that? I'm not 100% sure. Maybe he's trying to kidnap the Stella or another one of the Vegapunks, but I think a big factor could be, you know, Vegapunk's brain is Punk Records, and he has Pudding, who has the memo powers, right? She can access people's memory. And so I'm wondering, is there a tie-in there where maybe he's trying to learn stuff about double fruits, like the science behind it, so he can keep kind of cheating the system by accessing Punk Records? Is there a way to control the Seraphim by accessing Punk Records? You know, what's going on in that whole area? I mean, his island is Hachinosu, which is a giant skull, so you put a brain inside of that skull. You know, maybe he's there to go get Punk Records and take it, like there's some kind of plan. Not exactly sure, but there's definitely something with double powers, whether it's him getting one or maybe getting the Seraphim because of those powers, whatever it is, definitely something related to that, for sure.
I started smiling when Dax brought the Seraphim because I agree, like, pretty much all the way through. There's just a few things on the Seraphim route that is interesting, because from what we saw or what we can gather, Kobe at Amazon Lily told the Seraphims to stand down at a certain point, and we don't have a full context of what that fight looked like with Blackbeard, but we know Blackbeard was unscathed, and so we're not necessarily sure if S-Snake and S-Hawk were able to use their Devil Fruit powers at the time, because, you know, Boa was there. Boa was the one who used the power. I think it's fair to say that Blackbeard probably saw it, but as far as what we saw, I don't know if Blackbeard did see it. And that's where it's like interesting, because I was playing with this line of logic and he took Kobe, and I was thinking, like, wouldn't it make sense to bring Kobe? Or as far as like leaving Amazon Lily, Kobe had the control over the Seraphim. Like, if he wanted the Seraphim, couldn't he have like told Kobe to like order the Seraphim to him? Or like, if that was the play, he was kidnapping Kobe, why not bring the Seraphim at that point? He saw Kobe order them. And then if he's going to Egghead for the Seraphim, I feel like it would also make sense to bring Kobe along the way, because he knows that they can control them, right? Like, if he's gonna go there and then fight them and then capture them and then bring them back, that is one route. But I feel like if the Seraphim were the target, he would want to bring Kobe at the minimum. Or maybe this is where Katarina Devon is headed towards Egghead. You know, that's the loophole, right? If Vegapunk was dumb enough to make it just a simple voice recognition system and not, like, I don't know, lineage factor based or something, then yeah, Katarina Devon could mimic Kobe, then control the Seraphim, do whatever. And then, hey, if Saturn's gonna be there and they find out that he overrides it, then maybe Katarina Devon takes over like a Stella or Gorosei. Like, I don't know.
But also, we have to remember that the place where the Cycle agents are being kept, it's the old Devil Fruit research facility, so there must be a new one that's up and running out there somewhere. So maybe that doesn't have to do with that. Maybe this was just a room that they used to contain Zhoniins, maybe, right? Like you have to wonder, like, why is this, I want to call it like a bulletproof chamber in a Devil Fruit roof? Like what does this have to do? Like, is this where they locked up Senior Pink for like a week before they took out the fruit? Is this maybe where Zoan Devil Fruits go crazy and they have to like control it and rein it in? I'm not really too sure what that looks like, but one way or another, when it comes to bringing in or raiding in the Seraphim for Blackbeard, I feel like that's super plausible considering who we have not seen yet for the Blackbeard Pirates. We haven't seen Lafitte and we haven't seen Karen Devon. Those are the only two members recently that just are MIA. So I do believe that those are the two characters on their way to Egghead ahead. And like you guys said, like Cara Duvall can transform herself into Kobe, transform herself into maybe even a Vec. And I think that's kind of what it boils down to. That's where we might be heading. And the funniest part is that, like, with the Blackbeard parts on their way here, they don't need to just get one thing, right? We're all like, oh, it's probably the Seraphim, it's maybe the Devil Fruits, it could be Saturn. Honestly, it could be everything. They could be after whatever they can get their hands on. These guys are grubby little creatures, right? You throw a coin their way and they're just gonna snatch it up. And I'm actually excited to see where this goes. But one way or another, unless these guys go full incognito VPN mode, I don't know how they're gonna avoid running into 100 Marine battleships or the strung out crew or CP0. Like, these guys are gonna have to work behind the scenes, because if you put Lafitte and Devon, like, let's say those are the people on their way here, if they're running into Luffy, I feel like it's GG. If they're running to Saturn, I think that's game as well. And even Rob Lucci, like, you know, we kind of meme on Rob Lucci because he got waxed, but I still believe in him. I feel like he could probably take on Devon or maybe even Lafitte. And it's like, dang, like, these guys are gonna have to work under scrutinous conditions.
Well, I think it's all about espionage, because you have the two most espionage-centric people with and Devon. Now, the issue is the ship. Like, if they see the ship on the shore, like, there's no hiding that. But as far as the other two, you know, Lafitte has proven to be a master of that by sneaking into Marie's Wall and, like, you know, vouching for Blackbeard to become one of the warlords or whatever. And then Devon, she can turn into anybody, apparently. And so what I could kind of see happening, like the way this all kind of wraps together is, like, Par, you mentioned earlier, like, why not bring Kobe? And I think part of that is because, so, like, you know, he found out about the Seraphim at the same time he was trying to get Boa's fruit. Like, he didn't know they existed, at least it seemed, until that event. But that was about a month ago. So I think he probably spent this last month talking to the crew, like, all right, how do we get these things? Like, we need to go figure out how to do this. And the thing is like, yes, Katarina Devon could turn into Kobe or turn into Saturn. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't even need... So, like, you have the two people that could do the espionage, like, sneaking without fighting people, to answer your question. And then to, like, answer how everything ties together, like, yeah, Blackbeard was probably like, hey, it's probably safer to send the two people that can sneak around with nobody noticing, other than having me, you know, like,
all of us, the villains.
like, immediately, it's like here from the shore. And also, I'll say this, just one last thing, I guess, is Blackbeard's definitely going to get there first, because Saturn is going so slow.
Oh my goodness.
Like, yeah, they've known about this for 3 months, and Blackbeard just found out he's going to beat everyone there. Even it was pre-planned. Yeah, it's exactly, like, how does this happen? So, I think, exactly, like, there's a whole armada, and we've heard about it forever, and then Blackbeard's definitely going to get there first, somehow, or will his crew. And I think generally, you know, Blackbeard's splitting his crew up against these three islands, like Hachinosu, Winter Island, and Egghead. I think he's going to, like, win, quote unquote, at all three, and that's going to, like, make everyone super scared of, like, he beat Garp, he's got, maybe he'd even control Garp with, like, shadow powers or something, of S-Gecko or something, I don't know. And then, like, oh, he's got Punk Records with him, and he's got the rubbings from Law. Like, this dude is, you know. So yeah, something like that is how I see it shaking down.
I think it's funny. One last joke about Blackbeard showing up before the Marines, but you gotta remember, the Blackbeard ships are all just giant logs strapped together. Like, this guy's actually just floating in on driftwood, and they're making it there faster than everybody else. That's wild to me.
And it might only be Lafitte and Devon on that ship, and there's feet everyone.
Oh my goodness.